Hi guys, we are here today to interview Jim Richardson, the photographer. I'm going to start off by just asking a few questions. Hey Jim, when did you get interested in photography and what made you decide to be a photographer?
I got interested in photography when I was living on the farm as a kid. My dad was an amateur photographer, and he had all the magazines and all that kind of stuff. And he was a truck driver, and he kept stopping at pawn shops on the way to Texas to get cameras, bargain cameras, good cameras, and all. And that really got me started. At one point, he found a darkroom set that I could set up out in the kitchen on the farm at night, and that really got me going. I was photographing all and every subject I could come up with on the farm. My dog, the changing cottonwood trees, the lightning storms in summer, just everything that I could imagine. And it was great fun because I then was able to take those pictures to the North Central Kansas County Fair. It's not County Fair, and just really delve into it deeply. I remember my first blue ribbon at the fair was a major event in my life.
Oh, that's definitely interesting. Tell me, Jim, what are some of your favorite things to photograph and why?
Well, I do a large range of subjects. I do everything from cultures. I've done the Celtic world. I've done, as I mentioned before, small town life in Cuba, Kansas. I've just done all kinds of things about cultures. Scientific subjects like genetically modified foods. I've done a lot of water stories, the Colorado River, Columbia River, Mississippi River, water quality, Ogallala Aquifer, things like that. And I've done landscapes like the Flint Hills of Kansas and the Hebrides of Scotland, and a few others. So I do a big range of subjects. Perhaps that's my newspaper background showing through, because in newspapers you have to learn to cover all kinds of subjects, whatever happens on the day that you walk in the door.
What is one of your most memorable photographic moments?
I started doing some pictures that I thought I was sort of making a connection with something. I photographed, for instance, a water witcher, a guy named Ralph Frazier, up near Belleville, Kansas. And it was one of the first times when I really saw that I could take an everyday subject in front of me and turn it into something that had greater life and vitality, and would have some chance of lasting. Newspaper pictures always are great news today and almost worthless tomorrow. And so this was one of the first times that I really saw that I could do pictures that might have some lasting value.
So tell me a little bit about the one that got away.
The one that got away. Well, I do remember one time when I was working for the Capital Journal that I went out to Lake Perry, to photograph the beginning of the fishing contest, the bass fishing contest, and all these guys were lined up there in a line, and they were in their boats, and they were all ready to take off. And the sheriff came out with his shotgun to fire the official shot in the air that would start the fishing contest. It's at 6 in the morning. I'd gotten up at 4 to drive out there, and I knew it'd be exciting when they took off. And I had my motor drive all ready, and the sheriff fired the shotgun at the crack of 6 o'clock, and the 100 or so fishing boats all revved up and took away in a great spray, like they were boat racers or something like this, And I was clicking away with the motor drive, going click, 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 and I thought it was an absolutely great picture. And as I walked back to the car, I started rewinding the film, as we did in those days, and I wound and I wound and I wound, and usually you would come to a place where you felt that it had gotten to the end, and it never happened, and I finally popped open the back of the camera, and there was no film in the camera.
If you could offer some advice to a budding photographer, what would it be?
The first thing I would say is to new photographers, or photographers who really want to pursue photography, is to think about taking useful pictures instead of good pictures.
Oh, okay. And why should they take useful photos instead of good photos?
sort of arbitrary rules of composition, of lighting, of subject matter, of placement of things within the pictures that sometimes make an interesting picture and sometimes don't. Useful pictures that we can somehow find use for in our lives, that convey things, that tell others how excited we were to see something. Those pictures don't necessarily have to follow all those rules. The main rule that useful pictures have to follow is don't be boring.
Don't be boring. It's a good tip.
Don't ever be boring. Be interesting.
Okay, kind of heard you the first time.
That most cardinal of rules is don't be boring.
Listen, I promise you, I will not be boring. So, could you please give me an interesting tip about being a photographer or taking pictures?
The more time you spend practicing and thinking and learning to see, the better the pictures will be.
Very, very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for coming here today and letting me interview you.
Awesome.